Hello. How is everybody doing? Hope everyone had a good weekend. Ooh. There we go. Just making sure you can hear me. What's up, y'all? It has been a great weekend, and I hope you guys have had a good one too, if not a great one. It's been a weird one too, though. I think I told you earlier this week that I had like a long lost relative coming by earlier. Hey, Sandy. Or that stopped by earlier this week. And then like a day later, my uncle surprised us and came over for a visit from BC again. So yeah, it's been a bit chaotic but fun. Plus it was my friend's album release party this weekend too, which I had a blast at and got to see some old faces that I haven't seen in a minute, including the guy that released his album. His name is Gray. Fantastic, like R&B soulful singer. He a white boy with soul. Actually, my friend is his bass player, and he like literally just as I was about to click live, he sends me a clip of like the professional footage. I was like, oh my god, it looks so good. Hey, Angel. But yeah, what's up, everyone? Welcome to General Hospital Envy, my GH After Show. Christmas is in the air, and so is romance in Port Charles, and I'm here for most of it. We'll get into all of it, of course. But I hope you guys are doing well. Winter is now here in Edmonton. I know that we hadn't really had much snow or any snow at all in November, but the snow kind of arrived last weekend. But it hasn't been that much. You know, I look at like previous years, and like previous years it was like already minus 31. Here we're still hovering at 0, slightly above it, slightly below it here and there. Where do we begin? Well, you know, let's get into the romance first. We'll get into the romance side of things, then we'll get into the Christmas side of things, and then we'll get into everything else. So with that said, let's talk about Christina and Blaze, because why not? They're in the thumbnail. They're on the left, you know. Hey, Nikisha. Hey, Kawan. Alright, but yeah, let's talk about Christina and Blaze. I have been saying this for the past few weeks, that I just haven't seen romantic chemistry between the two of them. I didn't get the vibe that Christina was into Blaze, and while Blaze was definitely trying to get more time with Christina and giving her gifts and stuff, I didn't really get a vibe that she was like into her sexually or romantically either. It kind of felt like the writing was heavy-handedly trying to tell us that they were a possibility as a couple without the actors trying to sell that fact. But this week, after a heart-to-heart between Christina and Blaze about Christina's dating history, including her history with Kiefer, Blaze made the moves on Christina with a kiss, and she was into it. And honestly, I didn't hate it. Also, I mentioned Kiefer, but obviously specifically Parker came up as well. I wish that the actors would have consistently played it off like they were interested in each other from the jump. Even if it was something as simple as like Christina checking out Blaze's ass or something, or Blaze longingly looking at Christina while she left the room, things like that, just something. But it just seemed like there it was. Anyway, as soon as Christina finished talking about her first relationship with a woman, Blaze kissed her, which was like a little weird. I'm not gonna lie, I'll admit it. It was forward, but Blaze admitted that and apologized. But Christina pointed out that she kissed her back and said that she was into it too. The biggest takeaway from the scenes, though, was learning a little more about Blaze. We learned that her real name is Allison, and that she was in the closet partially because of her status as a celebrity, but mostly because of her old school, very religious family, and how her biggest fear was that her family would shun her if they knew. An all too real thing a lot of LGBTQ plus people go through. She talks about how she suspected that her uncle was gay and that one day he was just shunned from her family, and she fears that him being gay was the cause of it, and that her family found out and they disowned him. I feel like it sucks that she doesn't know for sure, though. She does admit she's tried looking him up on social media with no luck. But watch him being shunned be for some completely other reason. You know what I mean? Like, what if he's just like a criminal or something and the family just didn't want anything to do with him because of that? Maybe he's not even gay. We don't even know. Like, she doesn't even know. She's just assuming the worst. But who knows? What are y'all saying though? Oh, you had snow like 2 weeks ago in Kansas. All right. Yeah, winter's here, but it's December, so I don't mind it. Kaiwan said, this Christina story sounds like something that happened on Young and the Restless a few years back with a lesbian love scene. Seems like they stole the whole storyline from Young and the Restless, the whole Blaze and Christina storyline. I mean, but it's like the whole religious angle is a very common occurrence no matter what, you know what I mean? Shandy said, I like Blaze and Christina. I didn't hate the scenes of them, like the aftermath of their kissing. I really didn't. I could ship them. I just need to know a little more about them, you know? And like see them as a couple. The writing told us they gave for each other. They didn't show romance. I just saw friends. That's how women make friends as adults. Like if Blaze didn't kiss Christina and just nothing. Yeah, it's true. Like I didn't see anything leading up to it. So I get it. But I'm just saying that I didn't hear about or I didn't, you know, I didn't hate the scenes after that, and that, you know, there's potential now. But anyway, in regards to everything that Blaze had said about what she's experienced with her family and what her fears are, I know Blaze is just a fictional character, but if I could say one thing to her, or perhaps maybe anyone who might be watching this that might be in the closet for similar reasons, especially those who are really full-blown adults already, and you know, because I know it's a little more complicated for like younger people that are still living with their family, but in general, it is much better to be true to who you are, even if your family shuns you for it. Because if your family are the type of people that you can't be yourself around, those are not your people. Blood be damned, okay? Your tribe and your family is out there somewhere. You just gotta be open to leaving the one you know for the one that you deserve. And that's that on that. Plain and simple. But back to the story. Whatever happens between Christina and Blaze relationship-wise, I'm just glad that at the very least she has someone that she can be open and honest with in Christina. I say this not because I'm not fully shipping them yet as a couple, but because Christina's about to go through some life-changing experiences that could be a game changer for the relationship that's barely started to begin with. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes. Shakarius, I have no idea what you mean about Amanda and Josh. Kaiwani said, hopefully they'll chill away because Christina's going to have a baby. We'll see. Oh, like Jason type of situation. Yeah, I don't know if we'll see a repeat of that. Mariah and her partner don't even get shown like that on YNR. Interesting. Do we got any lesbians in the chat? Yeah, any lesbians in the chat? I'm curious. It gets better. I know it's silly, but it's true. It really does, you know, like I obviously I can't speak to Blaze's experience. I mean, I have religious family members for sure, But for the most part, other than my grandmother, I don't live with them, and my grandmother and my mom, at first when they found out I was gay, yeah, it was a little bit tough, but they came, they became more opening and receptive, and now, they've been to Pride with me and stuff, and they've had fun, and it just really comes down to the family. And I say this, I'm not a very religious person, and it's for reasons like this. Religion is dangerous, and it has people judging people for bullshit reasons, like who they want to spend their lives with and such. It's like, ugh. And I know not every religious person is like that, but it's just that religion can bring that out of people, and I think that's wrong. What else are you guys saying? Amanda and Josh said they didn't want to do sex scenes. Well, that's their prerogative, I don't know much about Amanda's life, but obviously she must be. I'm assuming she's married. She has a kid, right? And so is Josh. And maybe they don't want to do it. You know what I mean? That's their prerogative, and they don't really need to do love scenes to sell them as a couple. And they shouldn't have to do that with any couple. Although it's like big moments for like people that ship them, it's not necessarily necessary, in my opinion. And to be truthfully, I didn't even notice that they didn't have any sex scenes, and I never even thought about it till you said that. And like, I'm neither here nor there with Brooklyn and Chase in general. I think they're cute, but it is what it is. And we'll get into them in a minute, by the way. They're next on my list here, before or after, sorry, the life-changing experience that I mentioned with Christina. So while Christina had kind of already agreed to be Molly's surrogate after their heart-to-heart from the week before, Molly had ran it by TJ since then, and after a good discussion about it, the two of them were on board to officially ask Christina to be their surrogate. And so they went to her apartment and asked her, and of course Christina agreed, and now Blaze and her are going to have a talk about it, because just as they were starting to start something, this turn of events is taking place. So we'll see. Anyway, okay, let's since we're bringing them up anyway, let's talk about Brooklyn Chase. So the end of last week, Chase had proposed to her, and just like I expected, Brooklyn was like, dude, you don't need to propose to me just because my family is strong-arming you into doing it. But it turns out that Chase was already going to pop the question at Christmas time, and already had the ring with him too. So all Lois and Gloria did was kind of, convince him to move up the date a little bit faster. But it wasn't even the only reason for him doing that either. Everything that's going on with his father has, inspired him to realize that life is too short and to make the moves now, because you never know what's around the corner. And with that, she said yes. So Brooklyn and Chase are officially engaged. I could never turn my back on my child no matter what. Yeah, no good parent should, but sometimes they do. And there's always this argument that, like, blood is thicker than water. You only have one mother, you only have one father. Listen, if your mother and father did nothing but trash you for just being yourself, and just like made you feel like you couldn't be yourself around them, and you had to hide who you were from them, then screw them. Honestly, you have your tribe out there, you have your family out there, you can find a new one. Family does not need to mean blood by any means. Like, sometimes parents are just trash and you need to get away from them. And it's kind of like, oh well, I kind of compare it to like abusive relationships in general. Like, there's domestic violence, and then the partner is like, well, he is my husband though, I have to stay with him. No, you don't. And the same thing can be applied to emotional abuse, in my humble opinion. Get away from the things that are hurting you. That's it. Brooklyn and Josh are dry. Oh man. I don't see how Christina being a surrogate and dating Blaze could be a problem. Can't get Christina pregnant like Spinelli got Maxie pregnant during Maxie's surrogate story. I don't know. I just like Blaze brings up the religious aspect in her family, so maybe she's feeling some type of way about surrogacy, and who knows? We'll see. We don't know enough about Blaze. We could assume that she's got some strong religious beliefs and could be against like a surrogacy situation. I'm just saying. We'll see. It could be a game changer for her. We don't know. But it is big enough of a decision, And she could also just be fearful that like, oh well, if Christina and Blaze are seen together and Christina's seen as pregnant, maybe they will think that she's the lesbian lover and she's the one doing the surrogacy, and who knows? I'm just saying there could be a lot of different ways for the story to go. So I'm just cautiously saying that this could be a bump in the road. We don't know. Yeah, no one owes crappy parents anything. Exactly. If your parents are crappy and they're treating you like dirt and they're abusive emotionally or physically, get the hell away from them. It don't matter if they're your blood. Blood don't mean shit. Hey Nathan, you're not too late. We only really discussed Brooklyn and Chase and Christina and Blaze. We had a good discussion about like, if you're in a situation like Blaze is, it's just much better to be yourself even if your family shuns you, because you'll have other family out there to have your back. You just gotta look for them. And then with Brooklyn and Chase, we just said they're engaged. So yeah, you didn't miss too much. Yes, it can be certain things that they can do with them. They have a loving relationship. Maybe keep the baby, though it's Molly's. Well, yeah, there's so many ways that the storyline can go. So I'm just being cautiously cautious. That's all. Christina could have a difficult pregnancy that could cause difficulties in a relationship with Blaze. Exactly. Yeah. There's just so many different roads that this storyline can go down. But yeah, let's move on. Lucy and Scotty. Let's talk about them. So I don't know if this necessarily falls into romance, but we got some scenes with Lucy and Scotty this week, and it turns out that Liesl has been avoiding Scotty like the plague, and he's feeling a little neglected. So he's reset his eyes on Lucy, despite her being taken by Martin, and Scott thinks that just because he isn't with her 24/7, he can just move in on that. And Lucy even tries to be like, you're just nostalgic and lonely. I like us as friends and co-parents. I want us to stay that way. I cherish you as a friend, but I don't want a relationship. And he just keeps pushing, and I'm just like, this is so gross. And she's even trying to switch the conversation to Serena a bunch of times, and he just keeps on pushing her, and she just leaves. And I don't know about y'all, but I don't want to see another round of Lucy and Scott. Those two are actually toxic to each other, in my opinion, as lovers, and definitely make better friends. So I'm not here for another redux of Lucy and Scotty. And just because Martin is busy with his field and she's busy with hers doesn't mean that they're not in a loving relationship. He's obviously hidden some things from her that I think he should be truthful to her about, and I think that'll cause some friction. And maybe they'll use that to have them sleep together, which, I'm not here for. I hope not. Let's see Lucy mature. It's not the 90s anymore. Are you saying that Scott and Martin are basically the same character? Kind of. They're both lawyers and both a little bit scuzzy. You would think that they would show Lucy and Scott flashbacks. Well, they didn't need to in this instance, unless they're going to move forward with it. Where are their children? Well, Lucy kind of alluded to something, or was it Lucy or Scott? One of them alluded to Serena doing something really important. But we know that the actress that played Serena is is in the military, so I don't think she'll be back on GH herself anytime soon. So unless they recast her, you might not see her. He's supposed to be dating her mother, the woman that died. Yeah. Scott and Dominique. AKA Cody's mom. Anyway. Speaking of Cody, let's talk about Sasha and Cody. There's not much to say really, but they are still using their natural romantic chemistry to sell deception products. Specifically the Deceptor, and supposedly they have a photo shoot at Monument Valley, which is scheduled in a few months from now. What do we think? Will we get an actual location shoot that far away from LA, or a fake set that will double as Monument Valley, or will they just forget about this completely, or it will happen off screen and they'll just be seen coming back from the airport? I guess time will tell. Scott and Tracy. That could be fun, but I don't know. Imagine Tracy ends up with Scott and then Luke comes back alive. I don't think it would ever happen, but that would be crazy. But they'll have nothing on Tracy and Luke, let's be real. I know what's worse, Molly and TJ, Brooklyn and Chase, or Cody and Sasha. I like Cody and Sasha, and I don't mind Brooklyn and Chase, and I'm neither here nor there with Molly and TJ. There are much worse couples on the show. Alright. Now that we've got the romantic stuff out of the way, let's move on to the Christmassy stuff. Just to talk about it in a general sense, the Christmassy scenes that we got this week. The first thing that I want to say is that I'm sure some might find the scenes that took place a little bit boring this week and pointless to show some of the scenes that we got this week. But to me, it's always sort of felt like GH has a tendency, or they have for a very long time had the tendency, to only save the Christmas festivities for like Christmas Eve. We like see them putting up the tree on Christmas Eve and then, and celebrating right there on the spot. Or they just neglect Christmas altogether by having something really devastating going on like they have the last few years. It's like every December something heartbreaking has happened, and I'm glad that we're getting some lighthearted stuff. So I for one am grateful for the switch and that we're getting scenes, early in December about Christmas and family togetherness during Christmas that we don't typically see on the show. So I'll just say that, I'm grateful for that. Angel, you said you think it's going to be a fake set. I'm still sad they wasted the beach on Drew and Carly. And it wasn't even a realistic Florida beach anyway. It was clearly a California beach. Or someone who's been to Florida beaches. Ain't no hills over there. But yeah, anyway, let's talk about Christmas. So, for example, in terms of like the Christmas scenes that we got that were pointless but like fun to watch, we got Lois and Olivia decorating the Q mansion with Cody's help while reminiscing about their past Christmases, both at the Quartermaines and in Bensonhurst. And I actually really like the scenes. I can't get enough of Olivia and Lois interacting. Two Bensonhurst besties we've only mostly heard about. But we never really got to see them until this year. And Lois has mostly interacted with just Brooklyn or Ned, really. We've seen her with Olivia here and there, but barely. And actually earlier this week, just to get a little off topic, Lois had a good conversation with Ned about letting Edward win by keeping the family fighting legacy strong, by being at war with Michael over something stupid that actually benefited the company, ELQ, because he wasn't able to do so himself in all of his Eddiness. Instead of channeling Lila and trying to bring the family together by thanking Michael for doing what he couldn't do and just moving on. Ned was acting like a toddler and she called him out on it, so I'm glad Lois is here for that reason. But I've said it multiple times that I want to see more of Lois and Olivia, and we still haven't seen Lois with Dante. That makes me mad. But it was nice to finally see Olivia and Lois just hanging out, chit-chatting about their past while decorating, and unfortunately for them, but maybe a bit more fortunate for us, Tracy showed up to tell them that the decorations looked awful. And I'm not excited because Tracy said that. I'm just excited that Tracy is back. But y'all, before she came back to the house, we had seen Tracy on the plane crying over a picture of Luke from her phone. And the day before, in the previews, like the Next General Hospital stuff, they only show like a 1 second shot of Tracy holding her breath and looking at the phone. And I honestly thought it was going to be about Bobby dying. I was so like mentally prepared for that. And it wasn't that. And I'm actually probably grateful because, it's I don't want more devastating stuff before Christmas. And recently Laura Wright made a post, like I think it was on Instagram, maybe on Twitter, I don't know. I seen it, someone mentioned it somewhere, that she had said that it was a really emotional, hard week at work. But she's grateful for the cast and crew that she works with. And if I were a betting man, I'd say that she probably just shot scenes pertaining to Bobby's death. Which means if it just happened this past week, then these scenes are likely coming to us sometime in January. Sandy said, I'm loving Lois and Olivia. Ned is a big baby. Edward was the reason the family was so good. Well, listen, like there's never gonna be a way for like the family to be as good as they were. And I'm okay with like the family being at peace over this. Like, let them have like outside conflicts that the family can team up and work against together. Like, it's just the reality that, the Quartermain family is never going to be what they once were. And I'm okay with that because, we don't have all those characters that were there. We don't have Alan and Monica and Edward and Lila and Tracy around all the time. We only have, really, Tracy popping in here and there. And then, like, Brooklyn, who's kind of doing her music thing. Olivia, who's not really a Quartermain in the sense of like she's not into the ELQ, she's just doing her own thing, she has her own life, and she's married to one. So they're not what they once were, and they don't need to be what they once were. They just need to be a family unit in whatever way works now, because it literally cannot be what it was, because all of the other characters that made the Quartermains are dead. That's just like what it is, And I don't think, because Ned is so different from Edward, and, he has sort of two lives, so to speak, in that he loves his music and his passion, but he's also a businessman. He doesn't need to throw a temper tantrum over stupid shit like Michael doing something that he couldn't because he literally wasn't in the right frame of mind, and ELQ would have tanked if it wasn't for Michael. So, like, if they're gonna have the Quartermain squabble, let it be for like something like valid. Lou should come back as a ghost for Barbara. I'd be down for that. I'm sure that they've approached Tony. I'm sure that he would want to be a part of Jackie's tribute in some way, even though he's done, with GH in LA. Would Tracy even cry over Bobby? Well, we don't know how much they bonded while they were in Amsterdam, so, and, like, to that end, like, he is her sister, so it's like a piece of Luke would go missing with Bobby dying. A piece of him, sorry. So I can see her being sad. Like, Tracy isn't completely heartless. And we know that she spent, like, weeks and weeks with Bobby. So, they had to have bonded over Luke in some way while they were there. I know that Carly and Joss kind of mentioned that Tracy and Bobby were a little bit at odds. But also, they're probably both bonding in the frustration of Luke not having his affairs in order in the first place. And then Quartermain not fighting loses this sentiment. Quartermain fighting has always been on the show since 1978. Yeah, but like with different characters, and like the reality is the characters that we have now weren't a part of that. And you know, like Michael in a sense was kind of like, for a while, not saying he's like that now, but Michael was kind of the new Lila after Emily died. So him suddenly being a monster would be a bit weird. And Ned was never like Edward either. So I don't know, like it's just, you can't have characters do the same things because characters that they were nothing alike were doing them back in the day. That's how I feel on that. Like, yeah, the Quartermains that were alive back then were the ones that fought a lot, but none of them are here now. And so, like, it would be weird to just suddenly have all these characters act out of character and squabbling with each other. Like, Tracy can kind of, like, bring that with the family, and they can all squabble against Tracy. But for stuff like ELQ, when, like, the only other person interested in ELQ in the family is, like, Michael and a little bit Drew, but he has his own business, as does Michael. It's like, you know, it would seem redundant at this point. You know, it's like they can still do old GH feels in other ways. But anyway, let's move on from the Quartermains and talk about the Ashfords. The Ashfords were also getting into the Christmas spirit. Curtis, Marshall, and Trina went to the Christmas tree lot. Well, actually, it was Rice Plaza, and they were having a Christmas tree sale. And they were trying to track down the perfect Christmas tree for their house. Trina was picking small trees at first for Curtis's sake, but he insisted it be taller and that the others can do the top while he does the bottom. Trina rushed off as soon as one was picked, and I'll explain why a little later on. But once Marshall and Curtis got back to the house with the tree and started decorating, Marshall found an ornament from his past. Turns out it was the one and only ornament from his and Curtis's mom's first Christmas tree together. And when I say the only ornament, it was the only ornament on the tree. Marshall told a funny story in regards to that. I like seeing Curtis and Marshall bond and kind of reminisce and talk about life that even Curtis was not aware of from back in the day. And then after that story, Marshall did get a little emotional about it. He hid it well from Curtis and also hid it well from Portia when she got home. But when he was outside, or when he went outside to the backyard, he broke down into tears, missing his ex, of course, and thinking about all the regrets he had over the choices he made, along with his misdiagnosis of schizophrenia. And the ghost of his wife appeared to tell him to move on with his life and to just be grateful for what he has now and not for the things he's lost that he can't change. I hope his wife gets through to him, because no one else has seemed to, because we've seen Stella have this conversation with him, and we've seen Curtis have this conversation with him, and we've seen Portia have this conversation with him. So if the ghost of his wife can't get through to him, I don't know what will. But yeah, I know a lot of people have no use for Marshall, but I'm kind of growing quite fond of him, and it mostly has to do with Robert Gossett, the actor that plays him. I think that he does such a great job with like the emotional scenes, and so he knows how to pull on my heartstrings, so I feel for the guy a little bit. And he reminds me of some of the most endearing people I've met, you know, in my own life as well. And to be honest, I actually enjoyed a lot of the scenes with the Ashfords during this particular episode. Their scenes really gave me old school GH vibes. So, you know, going back on the topic of old school GH, this is a new family bringing those same old school vibes that I got watching a family like the Wards back in the day. That said, I do miss the Wards, and I wish that they were the family that we were seeing. But, you know, I think that they're doing a good job at kind of morphing the Ashfords into like a relatable family. You know what I mean? Like, I know that people find them boring and they find them unlikable. I'm not one of those people. I actually really enjoy the Ashfords, especially lately when they're a family unit. I like, apart from each other, I don't know, but when they get together as a family, I really like their family scenes. Curtis was even likable in these scenes, and you know, like there's a lot of moments where I don't like Curtis. You know, talking about what he's like when he's not around his family unit. and kind of being a bit stubborn and selfish. But he seems to really like Christmas, and it brought this joyous side of him that we never see. So I really enjoyed him too. And then Portia and him getting cozy on the couch as she shared news of this new procedure that's still in its testing phase that could make him walk again, that worked on a patient very similar to Curtis. He's scared to let himself hope, and that's why Portia hadn't told him about the procedure initially until this point. And she even put his name in without letting him know. And she explains, I did it because I didn't want to give you hope just yet. But she says, I think that it could actually work. So do you guys think Curtis will get a Christmas miracle and walk again? Time will tell. How do you guys feel about this? Like this story about Curtis possibly getting his miracle and walking again. Like, personally, it's not that Curtis's paralysis story is a riveting story or anything. I just feel like it would be a cop-out to give him this miracle out of nowhere. Like, I'm like, either keep him paralyzed or don't tell the story at all if they're just going to undo it just as fast as they did it, you know? That's how I feel about that. Okay, I went on a long rant there, but let's talk about... Or let me just scroll up and see what you guys have been saying. Angel, you said I miss Sky, AJ, Jason, and Emily. Continuity question. Why do they say the Quartermain train? Sorry, I can't understand what you're saying. Angel, you said after putting up my talk tree, a short tree. Oh, your tall tree, a short tree doesn't sound so bad. Our tree is kind of short. We put our tree on like an actual like, just like a stool of sorts, so that it's a little bit taller. But that's okay, because like putting it up, my tree's not real, so like it's in parts, and that part's a bit tedious, and then like untangling the lights and wrapping them around the tree would be much harder if it was a tall tree. So get that done and then put it up on the stool. It is very Catholic part of the show that truly makes Curtis believe. Sandy said, I like Marshall and enjoyed that scene with Mama Ashford. Okay, I'm glad you did too. I feel like I'm in the minority, even on message boards and stuff. Like, a lot of people don't have use for any of the Ashfords, but I, it's Robert Gossett's performance as Marshall that really endears me to him and the Ashfords, and even like Stella, the actress that plays her. They're both just realistic characters, and they play their characters with authenticity. In that I've seen people like Marshall and Stella, or I see other people that I know personally in these characters. And that's not something I can say with a whole lot of characters on the show. And it's not that it means that the characters that aren't like that aren't enjoyable, but it's just nice to see characters that I can actually see in other people that I know in real life. And a lot of these characters are really larger than life characters that, you're not supposed to see other people in them, but it's nice that you can in certain characters. Angel, you said I only care about Trina. Curtis might be able to walk for Christmas. I don't think they're going to go to the procedure that fast, y'all. But probably like right after. Frank Valentini has only produced for the show for 11 years, but he's created so many new families. I don't care about them. I want Webbers, Quartermains, Baldwins, and Spencers. But we can have them all, I do want them to rebuild the Spencers again, because where are they? There's no Spencers. Like, I know that like Carly and Joss are technically Spencers, but we've seen them as like Corinthuses and Jaxes for so long. You know what I mean? Like, and Quartermains because of Michael. So it's weird to like do that Spencer angle with Carly. I'm glad that they're trying, because they don't have another Spencer right now. Like, Laura's married, she's a Collins now. Lulu's in a coma. Lucky's gone. Like, Luke and Bobby, they're gone. Like, I'd love to see the Spencers kind of come back in some sort of way, but how do you do that without Luke and Bobby? Like, I would love to see Lucky and Lulu back, even as recasts, just to build that family again and have Laura kind of sort of be a part of the Spencer vibe again. You know, Laura just feels so isolated now. Like, yeah, they put her with, like, Charlotte, and they have her talking about Nicholas, but that's, like, the Cassadine angle. It's not, you know? And we don't see Nicholas either, and I'm sure he's coming back at some point with a new actor, or if not the last actor that played him, but it's just not the same. Because, you know, Nicholas ain't showing his Spencer side because there's no Lulu or Lucky for him to visit. Curtis needs to walk again. He's a terrible disabled. It's one of those magical soaps you can walk things. Yeah, I know. It's a trope. It's just it's happened so fast. And we see in the storyline Semi recently with Sunny, so it's like, I don't know. I watched GH for 5 decades. I want history. I do too. You know I do. You know we've been talking about this. I love all the old families, and I want to see them built again as well. But it doesn't mean that I don't want new families either. Like at one point, the Spencers were new too. The Quartermains were also new too. They weren't there at the beginning. The only family that was like the Hardys, and then they formed the Webbers. So it's like all those families that you listed, they were once new too. And we can get like they weren't here from the jump. So it's okay to have new families and to build them and to show them, you know, as a family unit. But that said, you're right. They should be showing the other families too. Rosie said, I just want Curtis to walk again and not to fake that he's not walking. Yeah, we don't want a repeat of like faking it, but he might. Who knows? But he might keep it a secret from like Trina and them to surprise them. You're talking about how Lois mentioned, well, she wasn't talking about Edward, she was talking about Edward's father, which I don't think we've ever really heard them talk about much. Lila technically started the company. Paralysis is like aging on soaps. They do what's convenient for the story. I've watched 15 soaps, and I don't remember one of them having a major character crippled forever. Fair. Insulting as a wheelchair user. The Ashford matriarch has never been shown until after death. Frank can't expect the audience to be emotionally invested in them. But, like, I don't know. To that end, like, I'm emotionally invested in the Ashfords. I've been a show watcher for years and decades, so your theory is wrong. It's your opinion, but it's not the opinion of every other GH viewer. Even the ones that have watched for history. There are older fans, much older than me, that enjoy the Ashfords too. So it's like, you know, like, I don't think we're supposed to necessarily care about Mama Ashford. But, you know, we've known Marshall for a while, and I do care about Marshall, you know? And again, it's thanks to his performance. Like, we're allowed to like new characters as much as we like the old ones. Like, common sense, dude. All the actors' budget Frank wastes on these folks could be spent on a character like Serena Baldwin. Okay, but the actress can't play her anymore because she's in the military. So would you be mad at a Serena recast? I don't know. But I wouldn't mind a Serena recast, to be honest. It takes the time for an audience to embrace new characters and families. Yeah, and number one rule, introduce new characters and families slowly. But they, like, the Ashfords to that end were kind of slow. Like, we seen Jordan for years before we seen Curtis. And then we didn't see, like, Marshall for years after Curtis. We didn't see Stella for years after Curtis. Like, they were slowly created. There was like years in between each family member, and now they're a family unit. See, there we go. Sandy said, I'm an older fan and I love the Ashford. See? Like, you know, the first Ashford came in like 10 years ago. It's been 10 years. How much slower can it get? And Marshall came like, what, 2 years ago? Trina as well. Like, you wanted it to take 30 years to get these characters introduced? The Quartermains kind of all came in that sort of a time as well. Like, you know, like Alan, Monica, Tracy, Edward, they all came in like a 5-year span from each other. Like, what are you talking about? And then we got to watch them grow for decades after that. That's how it works. The family gets introduced, you know, over a couple of years, and then the history comes afterwards. That's how a show works. That's how soaps work. I think it was supposed to be Sean's, but it became the Ashfords eventually because they were setting up Sean's sister. Oh yeah, they were kind of bringing up like Sean's family, but you know what? Sean was, you know, it just didn't happen. Sean is still TJ's father, but he's just doing his own thing now. The actors moved on. I don't know if I'd want to necessarily see a Sean recast, but I would like to hear that like TJ goes off to visit him. You know what I mean? Because he's out living his life wherever he is, running the Invader from his end. But you know, bring up those moments. TJ may be an Ashford, but he's also what's his name? Sean Butler. He's also a butler. I got confused for a minute because Sean is played by an actor named Sean. The actor's last name is Blakemore, so I was like, which one is it? Spencer's came in one at a time. Yeah, Bobby came first, but then like Luke was only on 2 years later, if not even that, right? And then, you know, Laura became his wife, and then years later, Lucky and Lulu. Like, but it was like also a 10-year period. It's just like the Ashfords. So that's what I mean. Like every family is formed the exact same way the Ashfords were formed. That is on YouTube. The fact that Edward came before them, or did the other one come before them? I mean, did Tracy come before brother? Or brother come first? Like in terms of who was born, or just who was on the show? Alan was on the show before Tracy. Tracy came in afterward as the wayward black sheep of the family to stir up trouble between Alan and Monica and Edward. You know, like she was like the new addition at the time. Yeah, I heard he's big. Like he's got a successful primetime career. It takes time to build a family. Yeah, but I mean, in terms of like the soaps, like every one of these families that was listed earlier, the Webbers, the Spencers, like, you know, like all of them, like they all kind of got popped in within like a 5-year period, and then the history followed, and that history is what we, you know, ended up enjoying. So it's like, it wasn't a slow build until like these people were having kids. You know what I mean? The only difference is that Trina, you know, she was a teenager already when she came on, so... And then they introduced her mom. Who's comparing Gossett to Tony Geary? What are you talking about? Like, I'm just saying, we're talking about families being compared. Like... We're not talking about their abilities as actors. We're talking about like how families form on soaps, dude. Like, they come quick and the history follows. The Quartermains, they all came within a 5-year span of each other, as did the Spencers, the originals before the kids, as did the Webbers, as did the Hardys. Like, they were all formed pretty quickly, and then their history followed after that. So GH is just doing the same playbook with newer families. That's the point that I'm getting at. Jane Elliott was an incredible casting find. Yeah, there ain't no actress on GH like Jane Elliott. She's one of a kind. And like, if you haven't seen her movies outside of GH, you're missing out. She's amazing. Jane is amazing. But I'm just saying, it's just like, it's not it's not comparing a family of talented actors and this and that. Although I think that Robert Gossett is a talented actor. Like, of course he's not Tony Geary, but he's a talented actor. She's just lost so much of its core audience and needs to, and it needs to mind its history if it's going to survive. Yeah, like, I'm not saying, like, you're assuming that I just want the new families and screw the old families. You know that I'm not like that. You know that I'm a big fan of the veterans, but I'm not like, oh, screw all the new people. No, let them form new people too. All the families that we loved were new once too. That's the point I'm trying to make. That's it. That's all. But yeah, I'm moving on with this conversation though, because we need to wrap things up here. Let's talk about the Harrisons. Now, Gregory, Alexis, and Violet were also at the same Christmas tree lot as Rice Plaza, but instead of looking for the most perfect Christmas tree like the Ashfords, Violet was determined to find the most imperfect one to give it a loving home. It was very Charlie Brown Christmas vibes, y'all. And when it was revealed at Finn's house, it was literally tilting over the same way the Charlie Brown Christmas tree was. And it didn't look better until it was decorated, just like the Charlie Brown Christmas tree. Finn, Liz, Brooke, and Chase were all there too, and Violet sang a little song with Chase on guitar. It was actually pretty adorable, and again, it gave me old school GH vibes. So, I liked it. It's just slightly better camera work than would have been in the 80s, and smaller sets, which is unfortunate because soap budgets suck now. But I liked it. Brooklyn and Chase also announced their engagement to the family as well. I don't know. I don't think she told Lois and Ned yet, unless it happened off screen, which I hope it didn't. But these scenes were sweet. We also seen Diane and Robert at Rice Plaza looking for a tree for her place. And they had a bit of a run-in with Gregory and Alexis before they had departed. Obviously, Gregory wasn't too happy that Diane was representing the opposing family in Finn's situation, but Alexis just did her best to explain it. There is a lot of talk about Alexis missing her career as a lawyer, and it makes me wonder if they're going to somehow give her her career back. Just a thought, though. Is Brendan going to be Dex's father? I don't know. I don't think so. That'd be an interesting twist, though. RG is better than Tony Geary. Listen. Let's not start that war, y'all. I think they're both talented actors, and they're both great at what they do. Me, I think Tony did a good job at pulling on the heartstrings as well. But I feel like he was much better at like the action-packed stuff. And let's face it, Luke is not Marshall, and Marshall is not Luke. It's weird to compare the two. But yeah, that's that on that. I'm changing the subject. Moving on, because it's getting late. Let's talk about Elizabeth and Jake. Elizabeth was at Rice Plaza with Jake before she had gone to meet up with Finn. And the two of them had a heart-to-heart. First about Finn, because Jake could tell Liz was distracted. And she opened up to him about what Finn's going through. And then Elizabeth kind of returned the favor, or not returned the favor, but returned the sentiment and was like, I want to know how you're doing, though, because of what happened with Charlotte. And in an ironic turn of events, but not that surprising given what happened, Jason Morgan's son does not like guns. He hates guns. I appreciate the irony of that. And he's even looking to join some gun control type school groups in his school. I know there's going to be a lot of people that cry woke on this, in this situation about GH going there and mentioning gun control. Shudder the thought. But like, I think the reality is, especially in the States, like, this is probably how a lot of kids that are in school feel at this point, because, they're seeing their friends and their peers get shot at in schools. And yeah, while this didn't take place in a school with Charlotte, like, it's still probably a constant thought in a lot of kids' heads while they're in school, because it happens so frequently. So, I just feel like it doesn't scream woke to me for having this guy mention it. Because, we see Jake like once a month. How often are they going to talk about it? And also, I just think it strikes me as like an honest portrayal of how a lot of American kids probably feel right now. Particularly ones who end up in situations that involve guns and a friend getting hurt by one. So, that's that on that. Does anyone think Violet is bratty? I think she's spoiled. I don't know about bratty, but she's definitely a spoiled kid. And she's a girl that knows that she can get her way because she's an only child, and Finn's, a little pushover for her. But like, to me, a brat is someone like what Charlotte was like, Violet is just like kind of like sweetsy, and like everyone has a hard time not like bending down to her because she's so adorable. Whereas Charlotte was just a brat. There was nothing adorable about Charlotte at all. Don't think that Alexis should be involved in this whole lawyer scheme with Finn. She's part of the media, and I got Finn being controlled by a person that's in the media. But Alexis was a lawyer for decades, so she's literally just using her expertise as a lawyer. Like, I don't think the media has anything to do with it. Oh, you think that they should do more with this anti-gun story? I have real protests about the end of guns in the show. Maybe Cyrus can run it. Oh my god. Dude, if Cyrus ran it, dude. Jake doesn't need one around Charlotte. That's big of Jake to want to do gun control. Finn's family is growing with BLQ and Liz. It's weird seeing BLQ and Liz like getting along in the same room, given their history. I had to think about that for a second because we didn't really see, this Brooklyn and Elizabeth together. So it's an easy thing to forget, but like, they have history and they weren't fond of each other. But they've both grown up and matured a lot more than they were back then too. So. Plus, gun control doesn't mean all guns. Just civilians don't need a gun that can shoot 100 rounds. Exactly. And that's what I don't know. Not to get like into like a weird, like touchy subject, but like, I feel like the people that are so like anti-gun control just go with the notion that they're trying to ban all guns from all people at all times. And it's like, no, we're just trying to get the mentally unstable people away from them. Like, can you, like, we're just trying to make it harder to obtain gun because not everyone should just be able to obtain one, especially if they're not mentally fit to own one. And I think that's something that falls on deaf ears because they just hear, oh, people trying to take away guns. No. We're trying to keep guns out of the hands of people that will use them in ways like this. That's all. And to that end, I'm in a country that does have gun control, and there is barely any gun violence here. So we don't have these mass shootings that take place. But yeah. Let's talk about the woman that kind of put Jake in this sort of mindset, though. Anna Devane. She is still really going through it, still trying to fathom how she could have shot a child. She had a good heart-to-heart with Felicia this week, catching her up to speed, telling her about the man that she was convinced was after her. And later, Dante found proof that Charlotte was not the one that burned her house down, but that it was in fact Forsyth. and she graciously brings the news to Valentine. Thankfully, she also took the time to tell him that he was a shit father because he's enabling her behavior by making excuses for her and not getting her the help she needs or being the help that she needs either. She points out that yes, Victor was the one to put it in her head that Anna was bad, but, and she needed, and that she felt that she needed to protect Valentine, but he didn't tell her to write murderer on the door or trash her hotel suite. That's messed up. That's the behavior of a disturbed child. Or as I like to put it with Charlotte, a demon child. I am so, y'all, it put a smile on my face hearing Anna say that to Valentine, because I've needed someone to say that for years. For years. Anna shooting a friggin' stalker in her own home is not a mass shooting. Trying to turn this plot into gun control story is just stupid. But they're not really, they're not going to make this a story, DG. We're not going to see this, form into anything. Like I said, we see Jake once a month. Calm down. It's fine. You'll live. Alright. Now, on to Dante. Now, I'm not going to lie. I'm slightly worried for Dante at the moment because of this situation with Anna. While he did find proof that Forsyth was the culprit, Forsyth's body, along with all the handfuls of evidence, including the doctor's notes, were confiscated by the WSB and made classified. By the way, Anna didn't tell Valentine who the culprit was either because it was none of his business, and that made me smile too. But anyway, Dante did keep one bit of evidence with him in secret, a key that was found at the bottom of Forsyth's shoe that was for some lockbox at a train station or something like that, and I feel like Dante is going to take it upon himself to go there to see what it is and get hurt in the process, so be careful, Falconeri. Let's talk about how much danger Dante's actually into, because, the WSB are involved, and we know them to be shady, especially the last, decade. We already knew that the WSB got a new director who ousted Frisco and iced out Robert, and of course fired Anna. But this week we learned that the head of the WSB is actually Pikeman, so this man is gunning for Anna and Sonny, which definitely makes the storyline a bit more interesting to me. It was weird, seeing are they after Anna and are they after Sonny? Which one is it? But the fact that he was after both of them is intriguing to me. And on top of that, he's got his eyes set on Carly too. I'm assuming it's possible he knows that she's Sonny's ex. Most likely he does. And he tries to make the moves on her, and Carly was flattered and seemed a little bit interested. I should mention, in case you didn't know, we talked about it earlier this week, that Drew is in Australia currently because of ELQ business / Aurora. We did learn that Pikeman, who probably had a different name, was involved in the case that went sideways involving Forsyth. What worries me is that Pikeman mentions that he didn't cause Forsyth's death. Then who did? There's just so many different layers of the story that are unfolding. It's mystery after mystery. I just hope that it doesn't drag out so long that I'll no longer be interested, because that's kind of this writing team's MO. It starts out strong and then it just drags out for so long that, I've just lost interest. And I'm hoping that the writers took some notes from the Scab writers on how to keep things moving. One thing I am assuming, though, is that the key that Dante has probably unlocks a lockbox with the missing files, because not Forsyth, but Pikeman mentioned that he thinks that, he knows that Forsyth obtained the files, but they weren't with him when Forsyth was found. So he knows that either Forsyth was lying or that they're locked away. Hence the lockbox, which probably has the files in them, as a safeguard, probably insurance for himself, I'm sure. You're proving my point. You think that they're taking away all guns, DG. They're just trying to take it away from mentally unstable people that shouldn't have them. But I'm going to ignore you now because I'm trying to get this done, because this is ridiculous. But anyway, let's get into the minor story points for now, because there's a lot of them, and we got 10 minutes before it's 11 o'clock at night. Dante, Sam, Felicia, and Anna need to collaborate and get these creeps out of town. Why not? Don't mention his name, Kaiwan. Do not. But yeah, let's talk about the minor points. Going back to the topic of why Trina ran off from the Christmas tree lot, it's because Esme officially moved out, and she knew Spencer would be devastated that Ace was no longer living there, so she went to comfort him. And I will say that Nicholas and Avery, Spencer and Esme, did a wonderful job in the scenes of her moving out, especially during his goodbyes with Ace. Kudos to them. Like, fantastic work by them. Ava had confronted Cyrus on Austin's death, and of course, he mentioned his alibi and pointed out that she probably doesn't have one, which pissed her off, and she stormed out. And then Laura paid Cyrus a visit and let him scold her for seeing him as the scum at the bottom of her shoe, and she coddled him over it and said, "I'd like to be proven wrong, and I'm rooting for you." But thankfully, that was so stupid, by the way. But thankfully, later on in the week, Dante spilled to Laura and Jordan that an informant, aka Sonny, informed him that Cyrus was likely the one that got Austin killed because his informant saw, his informant's informant saw Austin visiting him in Pentonville multiple times, but the records in Pentonville had been wiped out. Plus, he was the one that testified in Cyrus's favor. So Laura's like, if he is the one that killed Austin, I will see to it that he will never see the light of day again. Thank God, because Laura was losing me a little bit there. And I know that Laura, it's in Laura's character to see the best in people. That's just who she is. But like everyone else in town can see Cyrus like is full of it. You know what I mean? Like it's just it's so dumb. Like I was just like, come on, Laura, you are a smart woman. You know that Cyrus is playing you. You have to know. Because he's not even good at it. Like, he's not even good at pretending he's a good person. Esme moved out, thank God. Right, Angel? Yeah. I'm glad. But I actually do think that she genuinely wants to, like, just make a life for herself in Ace. And, like, kind of keep away from Spencer. A, because of her feelings for him. But B, because, like, he shouldn't be involved in the way that he's been involved. Because he's trying to insert himself into her kid's life. And she doesn't remember these people. You know what I mean? Like, she don't remember Spencer. She's probably going to treat Nicholas the same if he gets back in town as well. So, we'll see. What other points? Okay, Joss and Adam. They did their makeup test. He got a 96 and was upset that he didn't do better. And he had so much anxiety waiting for the results, too. He calls his dad to tell him the good news, but he lets it slip that it's a makeup test. And obviously he was like, the dad was questioning him on that, and he lied by saying he was forced to take Jocelyn to the hospital after she had a panic attack, which Jocelyn didn't appreciate, even though she understood, why he did it. And Joss told Carly about Adam's situation as well, while having a discussion about Bobby's frustration out in Amsterdam going through Luke's affair because he doesn't, do any paperwork ever. Spence is too attached to Ace, I agree. You think Adam's bisexual? Why? He's only shown interest in Joss, though. I mean, I wouldn't hate it, but, like, why? Where's that coming from? I feel so bad about Adam, too, because when I was in school, I had friends with just strict parents that were doing exactly what they're doing to Adam. So, I've seen the stress that it caused that is very similar to what Adam's going through. It's a realistic thing that happens way too often. Like, parents putting so much pressure on their kids to, go in the one field that they want them to go on, and then, like, bringing them down anytime that they want to do something different or not, surpassing their expectations, even if they're doing amazingly well. You know what I mean? And we don't really know. Obviously, Jocelyn has questioned whether Adam truly wants to become a doctor or if it's something that his parents want for him. That remains to be seen. I'm assuming that it's probably the case. I just hope that maybe Jocelyn and like a group of friends in school can have him open up about what he wants to do and maybe convince Adam to stop living for his parents and to start doing what he wants to do in the fields that he wants to be in and thrive in that, as opposed to what his parents want him to thrive in. Yeah, there are real college students that have the mindset of Adam. It's true. Absolutely. Yeah, I agree, Angel, for sure. What else? Sorry, I'm in my last bit of notes here. Okay, Nina. She scolded Sunny for not being honest about Cyrus gunning for him, and he brings up Carly's SEC situation because the FBI used her to try to get to Sunny. And while she got offensive, he's like, "You're missing the point, Nina. Like, the less you know, the less chance you have of being used by the people that want to bring me down. That is why I don't want to tell you much." And then Curtis also talked to Sunny about his shooting at the Metrocorp pool and wants whatever help he can get from Sunny. He wants names and info. The chemistry between Carly and Brennan is much better than the chemistry with Drew. Yeah, you're right, but you know, I don't want Carly involved in that mess. You know, I want Carly out of the mob stuff. Let her run Kelly's and live her little peaceful life for a little while. Let her build her own life before she gets, you know, caught up in Sunny's world for the billionth time. Even if it's like unknowingly. But you're right, they do have good chemistry. And the actor that plays him, I don't know much about him yet, but he's a good actor. I like him. I think he's doing a good job, and he has that charisma that's going to make him likable amongst the people in Port Charles, that, you know, he can move kind of in like the shadows. But also, you know, it could be a character that's likable enough to stick around. You know, he's, like there have been like mobster characters that come in that you're like, like I couldn't care if they killed him off right away, but like I want to see more of this guy because he seems like a good actor. He has potential to bring a lot to the show. The chemistry between... Oh, sorry, I've already read that. Please end this SEC nasty. Nina needs... Yeah. I mean, the truth has to come out. Like... you know, we didn't really get much of the story pertaining to Nina knowing, and that Ned knows that Nina knows, and, you know, the whole thing, obviously. But it needs to happen soon. It needs to happen. Like... It has been dragged out for way too long. All for nonsense. But yeah, that was all my notes, y'all. This is a long live stream. But there was lots to talk about in all fairness. Give me a formidable build for Sunny. Not someone that Sunny can defeat. Yeah, like, to that end, I think that... I mean, Sunny probably screwed himself the other week when he refused to take Pikeman's money. And I think Pikeman will probably retaliate in some way. I think Sunny... I don't know what's going to happen, but I think there's going to be some serious consequences for Sunny. It won't be Nina getting shot, though. We're not that lucky. Although, because he's getting so close to Carly, it might be something involving her. Oh, dude, how messed up would it be if, like, Pikeman, whatever, goes after Carly's mom, and they kill Bobby in that way? That would be so messed up. I shouldn't have put that out in the universe. Let Bobby die of a broken heart. Give us, like, you know, a good send-off for Bobby. All right, y'all. But yeah, it's 11. I'm going to end the live stream here. This Wednesday, we will be reacting to the next... Oh, no. This Wednesday... Oh, I almost forgot. This Wednesday, we are going to be reacting to the best of Tamara Braun as Carly in honor of Jacarius's birthday. Because I promised, you know what? It's your birthday next week. Your reaction is what we're going to react to, and he picked Best of Tamara Braun. And I really enjoyed Tamara Braun's Carly. I didn't get to see a whole lot of her, but I got to see like enough of her. You know what I mean? In storylines where she rocked them in terms of her acting. It's 1 a.m. in Atlanta. Yeah, I'm not gonna keep you guys up anymore. But thank you so much for watching, y'all. Again, tune in for Wednesday. We're reacting to some classic Tamara Braun as Carly. I'm gonna find some good scenes. Don't worry. And then again, we'll do another General Hospital after show next Sunday as well. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, everyone. If you liked this live stream, give it a big old thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to. I will catch you guys this Wednesday. Have a good night and enjoy your weeks, y'all. Mwah.